Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to our Thursday, October 28th Budget Committee meeting. My name is Joe Alexander. I'm the chairman of the Budget Committee. We're going to start our meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone can stand. Fred, would you like to lead again?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What do you mean again? I did it at the Hillsborough County delegation.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do is take a roll call so we can get on the record who's here. Make sure we have quorum. Right.
Joe, you're here. Stacy Bellamore's here.
Present.
Spencer Diaz.
Present.
Lauren Dukas is here. I don't see Greg yet.
Greg won't be
Greg's
here.
Excused.
Pardon?
Greg's excused.
Okay. Bill Cordes is here. Dennis Lynch. Okay. Richard Manzo's here. I'm here. Evelyn Redmond, you're here. Melody Renfrew-Hebert, you're here. Skylar Sund. Okay. Richard Fletcher's here. Jared Talbot.
Here.
Yes. And Mark LeMay is here. And vacant unassigned is not here. Huh? I said vacant unassigned is not here.
We have a vacant position that hasn't been filled yet by a board. I don't remember which one.
I think that was
One of the water
precincts.
Water precincts.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They choose not to fill.
So tonight is night one of the school side deliberations. So what we're going to do, if it works for everybody, is we're going to go right through, start right at the beginning of the budget, go line by line. This blue sheet right here has the location codes as well. So if you're confused, look at location, look at the codes. So obviously the first one is the district budget. And then if you have questions about certain lines and why it's going up or going down, refer to the PowerPoints that were given to us. They might shed some light over that. But if we have any questions, we can stop at any point, talk to Scott Gross. He can explain that part of the budget and we can have a discussion. If at any point somebody would like to change a budget line, which is in our powers to do that, I'll entertain a motion to cut a certain amount or add a certain amount to the budget, and that will just need to be seconded. And then because there's nobody participating remotely, we can do a show of hands unless somebody wants to get on the record what our votes are. Does that work for everybody? Mark?
I do not have a blue sheet.
I have an extra one. I'll have. Yeah.
Has a few.
I'm coming.
How you doing? Good. Wow. Okay, and just for the record, Skylar's son just showed up.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I had surgery today, so just came back from that. Major
Everything-
surgery.
Okay. I hope all is well.
Well, thank you. A little bit of a Percocet along with some ibuprofen is helping right now.
Does everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, great. Sorry, this is my first one too. So.
Oh, the other thing I was going to say, if I may, is that to the far left, we're going to be, on that, you'll see a reference number. That's really helpful. I added those a year or two ago so that this way we don't have to say, read off the line. You just say, I have a question on line 17, and it's numbered. I think we go all the way to like 1556. So it's just helpful for the minutes as well.
Okay, great. So the first part we're going to talk about or deliberate on is the district lines. So everybody refer to page 1. I'm just going to go through the pages and ask if there's any questions. Feel free to ask Scott. If you want to make motions or deliberate or chat about something, let us know. Fred.
Yes, it'd be helpful. I'm going, for example, to line 4.
Right.
The salary is going from 35,000 to 87,857. Any major change like that, please explain why. You probably did when we went through the slides, but it'll save a lot of questions.
Sure. So what you'll see in the FY23 budget base, these are contractual services that if for some reason the warrant for the operating budget does not pass, this would be the default budget that would be then reverted to per RSA. So, whether it was through a prior agreement or something approved by the voters,
that's baked into the default. So as Mr. Chair did explain, if we do want to add or augment or change anything, it would necessarily be the FY23 new column. That new money that has not been approved by the voters would be either updated or changed as part of our motion that we have here.
And I can address your first question. So on line number 4, the reason why it went from 35,000 to 87,857 was that the school board and the administration moved a teacher position at Goffstown High School to the district line, and that new position is called an instructional coach for our elementary schools primarily. We have a lot of new teachers, and this person's job for the short term, next couple of years, is going to be to work with those teachers, model teaching in the classroom. So we repurposed a Goffstown High School position, so you'll see a corresponding decrease in that. The default budget law is pretty clear. As long as there's no change in the overall full-time equivalents, then the school board can move positions to where there is a need. So if you have a great example is you have a bubble in the 4th grade, and now that bubble goes to another grade, you can move positions in between schools to accommodate that, and that's what they did in that particular situation. If going with Fred's logic, teacher.
I mean, I don't want
Oh.
to be here all night, so
Oh.
if there's
Oh.
a question regarding a line,
Okay.
feel free to ask that. I want everybody to feel comfortable doing that, but I
Okay.
don't want to be here till
Right.
That's the last one I had on the page anyway.
Okay, great.
I did have one, though, point on that. So on the teacher substitute line, number 9, we restored it to 270. And the school board, the school board asked me, why did we not go to 300,000? And I said to them, let's see how this thing plays out in the next year. So let's be a little bit conservative. Let's only go to 270. As you can see, it was 325 of actuals. Last year, we did raise our teacher sub rates, but, COVID has been a really wacky year. So on this particular one, we went conservative and not going to 300.
What's the actuals for the 2022? Or what's the,
We don't know, we're in 2022 right now.
right, so it's just, so this year just started?
Just started, so yeah,
Okay.
we're not there.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know that, so, for your knowledge. The other one that I have to point out is on number 11. So this was an adjustment. And that, before the meeting started, I was telling Melanie it's not a great thing because we received, I think it was 3 more retirement notifications. So teachers, they get a stipend when they retire after a certain number of years. And in the time that we presented until now, we received 3 more retirement notifications from our teachers, and thus we had to increase that line. So that was one of the ones that was changed. And that was, again, line number 11 and the default.
Okay, Mark?
Scott, how is that stipend, how do you get to that figure? Is it,
It's set by their contract.
okay,
So the contract is, based upon the number of years we with the district, they get a certain amount of money.
gotcha, thanks.
Anything else on this page? All right, let's go to the next page.
One thing to point out here, Mr. Chair, if we go to reference line 36, you'll see an increase of $84,000 in this other professional services line. Scott, could you just articulate what that is and why that money is showing up here versus somewhere else?
Sure. You will see a corresponding decrease at Mountain View Middle School contracted services for the school resource officer. So we've been working with the town over the last few months. So in lieu of the SRO expense, this expense is going to be used for Goffstown Television and some Parks and Rec services that are provided by the town to the school. So it's kind of a swap, SRO for GTV and some Parks and Rec services. Parks and Rec, if you don't know, they take care of most of our lawns and our fields. They line our fields. And obviously, GTV does a lot for the school as well.
Didn't we had, last year, we had a 3-day SRO at the middle school, right?
Full
We
day.
had a split SRO between Bartlett and another school.
They The
And then we
SROs,
added 1 and 1.
no, we've had always one here at the high school.
Right.
Then we had another one that was primarily at Mountain View Middle School. That's not to say that that each of those SROs doesn't make their rounds to the other elementary schools, but they spend the vast majority of their time, high school and the middle school.
Okay. Anything else here? All right, so third page. All right, anything on page 3? Page 4? A lot of these are contractual.
Yeah, the
Raises.
1,200 function, just for people to understand that, that's our special education. That's really driven by the needs of our students and our set prices, if you will. So anything you see with a function 1,200, it's mostly teacher salary information or sped stuff.
Anything on page 4?
Yeah.
Yep, Evelyn?
Line 87, can you tell me what's covered under those other professional services?
Sure. And Evelyn, that's a good question. I have a whole laundry list of things. So it is behavioral therapy as well as mental health services. It is hearing services, visual impairment services, additional counseling, tutoring for special needs students, and there's more. Speech pathology is included in that. And we also pay ESY as we have a program it's called Extended School Year for Special Needs Students. That's included in that line for contracted services folks. These are not teachers. So keep in mind that we had to bump this line up because all of these vendors that we were using, they've raised their rates for one. But also, as I mentioned before, when we can't hire a particular support personnel, like say speech, we then have to go to a contracted service for that. So
Okay,
that's what
thank
that line entails.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything on page 4? All right, we'll go to page 5. Does anyone have questions on this page?
I do again.
Evelyn?
Line 103, you haven't received, you don't get your insurance rates till June or till,
We did
May or June.
receive what's called the guaranteed maximum rate. And it came in I think we told the school board 0.1, so it was, we budgeted at 6.2. And it came in at 6.1, and we didn't make any changes because it would be about $7,000. So we didn't go through every single line and make an adjustment.
okay, thank you.
So I'm looking at line 115, district salaries. So we're going to see increases of non-union
Yeah.
or non-union in this column, the
Yes.
F23 new. What percentage, is it a blanket percentage increase across the
Yeah.
board?
So-
And what's that percentage?
In this, you're going to see a 3% increase for all administrators. And then in the new, when we get to that, there'll be, it's called a salary pool. What we do is we benchmark all of our administrators pretty much every year to see, are we competitive with our surrounding communities? And this year, we had one individual that was like way under. We shoot for the 50th percentile, so we know that there's going to be districts that pay a lot more, but when it's egregious, we make adjustments, and that, you'll see that as we get further down. What
position was that? What school were we paying under?
It was here at the high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with that, and Jared, this is the explanation that Kate and our HR director stated, that in this new column is really what was the redistribution of last year's salary pool. So in essence, these are raises that have already been given to these folks that is in the new column, and you have to, it's always 1 year in arrears. So that's why that, you'll see it in the new column for those particular individuals. So you will see, as we go through this, you're gonna see people like, wow, that's more than 3%. And there are a handful, and that's because last year when we benchmarked, I think we had 2, right?
A number of individuals.
2, right, that were way under.
So kind of think of this, one of the ways is, the school board went through and gave raises to our administrators. For the ones that the school board already said, yes, we're giving raises to these individuals, that's not part of a default. You're gonna see it under new because that was never approved by the voters.
Right.
So that's why you're seeing this number this is the administrative raise for that person that the school board approved in the April timeframe, I believe it was. But there is another pool of money, and I'm sure that we're gonna come across it, there'll be questions. That lists out, okay, this is the pool of money for all of our administrators that we have, and that's a certain percentage as well. So again, if you have any questions as we go through this, feel free to raise them, and we'll try to articulate the best we can.
Right, anything else, page 5? Go to page 6. Anything, page 6? Or page 7?
Yes.
Oh, Fred.
Explain non-capital software in 151.
Sure. Our non-capital software consists mainly of our Power School, which is our student information system. That's where all of the grades are calculated, attendance is taken. It also includes School Messenger and related software. So School Messenger is when if there's an issue where the superintendent needs to send a message out, let's say buses are running late, or it's going to be a half a day of, that's that program. The driver for this one is a $12,000 driver, and that's called e-registration and e-collect. So when we had COVID, we used that money on this Power School e-registration. So for those of you who have had kids through the system, you would get a packet in August, which would be in a big envelope, and they would put in that about a dozen forms that you had to hand write out and then send back to school. It was permission slips. It was all these things that parents and guardians had to sign off on, and they had to do it every single year. So now with Power School e-collect, the parent or guardian goes onto the computer, they verify that the doctor's information is correct, that you have permission to do X, Y, and Z, and all of that information is then readily available to any administrator. The old way required us to spend about $4,000 to $5,000 in postage, because not only did we send that out, but we also had to return postage on it, because a lot of the stuff is mission critical. But it was also the data entry. So then we had to have secretaries enter all that data back in, which sometimes took them till October and November on emergency contacts and doctors. So this is a much more efficient way. You'll note that in the last couple of years, and I think we even have it here, we have reduced some of our postage lines because we're not mailing out as much, but it's a major savings of time for parents and guardians, because they don't have to fill out these forms every single year, which is the same, and then handwrite them in. And that's really, and I will say that we did have a few hiccups, but we're getting better at it. But that's the overall. Some of you are nodding your heads that you have used this, which is good. But that's the thrust of that one.
Lauren.
Thanks, Joe. Line 1, or sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. 165, health insurance, are the rates quadrupling? Am I reading that right?
No, what you're seeing is if you look at like line 160, you see an increase there as well.
Yeah.
We moved some individuals from some of our school districts into the administrative area, mostly our technicians,
IT.
IT technicians. So instead of having somebody at the high school or the middle school, we moved them to the district lines.
All right, so then
And that's
it-
why you have those increases as well.
Thank you.
Evelyn?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I apologize, but can we go back to page 6, line 125?
Yep.
You have a line here for teacher retirement, but I also see one on page 7, line 157 for teacher retirement that has nothing in them. There's no descriptor for what, was something else consolidated there?
You'll typically see a teacher retirement line associated with different functions, all right? So in your particular case, can you refresh my memory? You said it was line 125, right?
Yes.
So that one would be under function 14, the teacher retirement that pertained to function 1410. And then you go to another page, and if it's under health, right, 20, which is 2130, you'll see a separate teacher retirement line, for that. At least you should. And if they're not a teacher, then it would be, say, non-teacher retirement. Some of these functions, there is no teacher in them, so there won't be any retirement because there's nobody in it.
Right, but on line, was 157, you used it prior, but now you're not. There's no descriptor for that 2213.
So, I'm looking at the notes one, and it says speech and OT for 10 students at 4 different charters. So were those students just not, we just didn't need that this year? I'm looking at 157, right? You were referring to line 157, I believe?
Oh, my notes.
157.
157, Fred.
Yeah.
The reference numbers differ between those.
They do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2213, 230.
We don't have 2213 as a function code. So I
Right,
think
but-
that function code is just a carryover from prior sessions that we've had. That's why you're seeing it as a 0 now.
Right, but you have professional program development and professional program improvement.
Yeah, that's for, 2213 is staff development.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So page 7, anyone else on page 7 have a question, comment? All right, go to page 8. Any questions or comments on page 8? Scott, I have a question on school board stipends line. Did you lower that stipend?
You'll see that this was a request by the school board, Jared, lines 182 and 183. We separated out what was the stipend for the school board, and also what is the stipend for the minute taker of all the school board meetings.
Okay.
So that's the reason why. And then in the new column, because this individual, that, I think it was 2009, 7, one of the, what, do you remember? 2009, we believe, was the last time that they raised the rate. It was 150, and it's been that way forever. And if you've attended a school board meeting, they're really long. Yeah, so they raised that person's rate.
Great. Anything else, page 8? Okay, we'll go page 9. Anything on page 9? Go to page 10. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
Thank you, Chair. So line 213, school board stipends shows up again.
This one, I believe, is for the moderator that is done during the warrant, what is that called?
The town.
The town,
auditor?
yeah, the town moderator
Oh, okay.
for the warrants. Can't remember the name of that day.
Deliberative
Deliberative
I don't know if
session,
it's the
thank you.
moderator, but hold on a second.
Yeah, I mean, it just
Yeah,
says.
it's the moderator and the clerk, so.
Thank you.
Great, okay. Anything page 9? Go to page 10. I'm gonna ask on page 10 about just the management services.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, management services went up quite a bit. And here's the reason why. There's 3 or 4 drivers to this. The first driver is that we have a new assistant superintendent. So our assistant superintendent is leaving us at the end of January, and we have to replace that particular person. That, along with 2 other notifications on health insurance. So we had people that were previously either not taking any health insurance, who had a life event in their family, and now they're taking a family plan. So we have 3 of those that we are accounting for in that. And as you all know, these are not uncommon for these, if someone doesn't have a plan, then they do have a plan, it being a $20,000 for each one of them. The other thing that we're doing is, for over a 2-year period of time, we're going to be hiring a person to assist us with all of these ESSER grants, and Fred, don't ask me, elementary, secondary,
I looked it up
whatever.
once,
Right.
good enough.
Okay.
Government money.
So we got all this government money, and with that,
That's a good way to put it.
it's a ton of,
I like that, Fred.
it's just a ton of work. I mean, all of the grant writing that has to be done, all of the accounting work that has to be done. So while we have to manage these grants, we're going to bring somebody on to the tune of about $50,000 with, this is inclusive of benefits, it's going to be a part-time position. And so that's the reason why, and then obviously you have your typical increases in health insurance and raises, but the biggest drivers are 3 different changes to healthcare plans, and then that one position to help us deal with these grants over the next 2 years. Once these grants are over with, our intent is not to, the essay was not to keep that person. So that's where we're at there.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are we, so our assistant superintendent is leaving?
Yes.
And are we hiring a new one at a higher rate, or are we hiring them at the same rate?
we are
Or if they're like less advanced in their career, are we lowering the rate?
We don't know yet, because that person has not yet been selected. But what I will tell you is that just on the health insurance, I think we're going to be okay on the salary line, but on the health insurance line, we know that we're not going to be okay there. Because the person who has the position right now has the lowest possible health plan, and more than likely, the successor individual will more than likely have a higher health plan. So that's why where we budgeted it.
Okay. Spencer?
On line 228, there's $11,000 in your spending. Is this the salary pool that you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the one that is reflective of the benchmarking and having individuals who are kind of below that, the average for neighboring communities. That's where you're seeing that.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on page 10? Page 11? Fred?
Line 246, I see a jump $4,800, which isn't huge, but it's 30,200 to 35,000.
on a second, 2410.
Data communications.
And with enough struggling, since I have another set of sheets here that don't match, I have to look for them.
Sure.
Something about internet service, First Light Fiber.
Yeah, this is just the, so that line comprises our content filtering, which is a firewall.
Yeah.
For 10,000. It also includes our internet service through First Light at 18,000, and then Fortinet wireless maintenance agreement, which is at 7,000. So it's just increases in what, in these particular areas that more or less protect our systems.
What is First Light?
First Light is your internet service, so if you have Comcast or other.
Yeah, Comcast, and I know that Consolidated's rewiring, so fiber service too.
Right.
But I thought there wasn't any other provider than those two.
They are our provider.
Okay.
We also use dark fiber in between our buildings as well to try to keep that cost down
First Light.
as well.
Okay,
It's
great.
a new one to me, Fred, too. I haven't heard of it.
Anyone else on this page? Spencer?
On line 254, it's more stipends. For that particular position, do you know what it is? It's about $2,000.
254, I think that's been flat. Hold on. It's our facilities people.
It hasn't increased over last year, but
Right.
Yeah.
Cell phone and mileage. It's cell phone and mileage, so in case they have to
2620.
respond to something or having facilities people on call, we just have a stipend for the cell phone expenses they might incur or the mileage they might incur having to respond to something.
Got it. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know, this is Caleb Hagner. Caleb is the student representative on the school board, does an awesome job, and Jared and I were kind of joking around, Caleb, why don't you come and help us? And he's here, so I'm really impressed, so.
Well, welcome, Caleb, and thank you. I'm sorry I didn't do that earlier.
National Merit
Wow.
finalist, yeah, semifinalist.
Finalist.
Yes,
Well, congratulations.
you will be,
You got a lot to be proud of in Goffstown. so
yeah.
All right. Anything else on this page? Okay, we'll go to page 12.
If I could, Joe,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, line 272, I just want to let you know, we did drop that by almost 13,000 for property insurance, so that's one that you're going to see from year to year. They give me more or less, like, this is what your rate is going to be, and I get it, like, literally in, like, October. So, and that's something that's out of our control, so if there are more, we're part of a pool, and you'll see that from year to year go up and down, but I just wanted everybody to know what that is all about.
So can you explain to me line 273? There's a reduction in 2021 actuals of 35K, but then it goes back to 4,200. What was in that line?
So what happened there was, this is a great example of why we had an underspend in our budget, because we got all these different grants coming in. So what you saw there was we had spent money out of that line, and then we, in accounting terms, we reversed all of that to use grant money. So that's why it sucked $35,000 out of that particular line. There was one of the grants that we could use to offset the budget. A lot of times you get these grants and they're like, you cannot, what's called supplant what you've already budgeted for. This one SP, I don't know, I forgot SP, I forgot, Fred, more acronyms. This was one that you could spend it, and we did, and we used it for custodial type supplies, cleaning supplies. So we went back to every single Home Depot Pro bill that we could find, looking for hand sanitizer, cleaner, you name it, and then we put it towards the grant, and that's why you're seeing that craziness there.
Good.
Okay.
All right, Fred?
Student transportation line 286. Down, which I like to see, but,
Well, so what happened there was that we had 23 school buses. Our contract was 22 school buses, minimum. So even though we have a 5-year contract with that regular ed transportation provider, right now, we're only running 17 or 18 buses. I don't know how long this shortage is gonna last, but I cannot contractually, if they find the bus drivers, we're going back to 22 by contract. So what I did was I went from 23 bus routes to 22, the lowest that I can possibly go, and that's why you're seeing a decrease in that one. Okay? So that $16,000 decrease accounts for one bus run reduction plus the 3% increase that would have occurred for the other 22.
And meanwhile, 5 of them might be sitting idle, but you got a contract for them anyway.
I'm not paying for them
Oh.
but I have to contract for them because so far, we've had 17 and 18 bus runs, this in September, October. If they can find the drivers, we're going to increase the bus runs. If they can't, they're going to give me a credit. So last year, I put this in my explanation as to why the tax rate, was lower, was because we got about a $250,000 credit because we didn't run all of these buses.
You
But-
hope they don't find the drivers in this case.
No, we want
We
the
do
drivers.
want, we got kids on a bus for like
Buses are horrible.
an elementary in an hour, for an hour going from Bernardville to Mountain View. So, yeah, we definitely want to have the route so that kids are not on the buses as long as they are.
Right.
Thank you.
Anything else, page 12? All right, we'll go to page 13. So we're wrapping up the district lines towards the bottom of the page.
Mr. Chair, one thing I wanted to point out, because this is where I made a mistake, and over the last year or so, you guys have said, oh, we have $1 here, let's take it out, et cetera. Well, I went to a seminar, and there was an attorney who represents school districts, and he's like, you have to have $1 in every single corresponding line on your MS state forms, and I didn't. So that's why I put those in, so just so you're aware.
I know why they would say something like that.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily agree with him,
yeah.
but
They're saying that legally, if you have to transfer monies, or if you ever have to do a budget transfer, you have to have $1 in a function, in these function lines.
right, and the whole reason we don't put dollars in lines is so that you cannot transfer money. That's my take of it. Like, that's why I just don't agree that, I mean, you can do lines without.
You can,
Without
but
$1.
the reason why we do that is so if you have to do, well, let's say for an example that, somebody is a big-time benefactor, and like, oh, I'm going to donate $500,000 to build something. Well, if you don't have $1 in a particular line, you may not be able to do even like the basic due diligence to do that. So that's why you'll have $1 for architectural or $1 for engineering, just in case something like that happens.
So it's a line keeper.
It's a line keeper,
Yeah.
and it's a legal line keeper according to the attorneys.
But it's not in every single line.
No.
It's only in the.
Only there has to be a corresponding one in like the 4400s, the 4500s,
Yeah, got it.
the 50, that type of thing.
Anything else for the school district administration? No? Okay. So we're starting, this is Bartlett.
So be Bartlett, yeah.
All right, let's start on line 308, the reference line 308.
All right, so we go Bartlett. So that first teacher salary line, that was the new position.
So this is, we're adding we're moving a position to Bartlett, and I believe this is.
This is an ad.
This is an ad?
This is a pure ad,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, this is the interventionist. So, as was explained during, some of you might not have been here when Principal Gogan explained that the test scores and the student achievement data from Bartlett is lower than Maple Avenue, lower than most elementary schools. The students there need more services in terms of remediation, both reading and math. So the notion here is that this is going to be a teacher called an interventionist. There's a certain population of these kids, and I think it's like 30%, who require remediation. And that's what this position is to provide that extra level of support for these students so that, as the principal stated, the goal is to try to get them reading on level, grade level by the 3rd or 4th grade. And right now, we're not achieving that. So this is an effort to help our kids. And it's been a little bit exacerbated due to COVID. And And I think, so that's why this position has been there. It's been, honestly, it's been a need for the last several years, but the superintendent, the school board did put this in. This is the one and only new hire or new position. This is the only one you're going to see in the budget.
Other than the grant positions.
Yes, right, those are,
Right.
right, yes, you're right.
So there are a couple.
There are, but they're grant funded.
For now.
You're correct, yeah.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed when they were doing this presentation, Bartlett was asking for this new position, but then Maple talked about how they had 3 positions that they also called interventionists. Are those not able to be shared between schools like many other positions?
I don't know the answer, to that. I would guess that if there is a need at Maple Avenue, then you would then dilute what you have at Maple if they were to go to Bartlett. But I can certainly I can follow up on that if you want.
If you could, yeah.
Yeah. So the question is,
So when Maple presented, they said they had 3 literacy math support teachers, case managers that she used the word interventionist, which caught my attention because that's exactly what Bartlett called.
Right.
For their exact same reason, so.
and I would say that they semantically call them some different.
True.
I know that is the case. Also note that in Bartlett, we have what's called Title I teachers, and these are also teachers based upon the student need, which in this case, in our district, is at Bartlett. We do have, I think, 2 of those Title I teachers. Those are funded by Title I grant dollars. But I'll find out as to whether or not it's the same position or not.
I mean, so just to kind of add on to that, I'm seeing a 69% proficiency level at Maple Ave with 3. Would it be possible to even just move 1 over to Bartlett instead of adding an entirely new position? Anything else this page?
I do have a question for you, is that I know that this position is extremely important to Bartlett, and if there was a thought process from the budget committee of what you just stated, which is a fair question, I would not feel comfortable trying to defend this. I would then just ask both the principals of both schools to come in, first order of business, and then you can ask them those questions directly.
Yep.
Is that okay?
That would be great if they can come to we're deliberating next week as well, so.
Right.
If they can come, first order of business, we can talk about the interventionists.
Okay, so the next meeting is on, not Tuesday, but next Thursday, I think, right?
Next Thursday.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it could be as simple as they just call this position the same thing in 2 different schools, and I think we would just need to hear what the differences are, and if that was my thinking, could they be shared?
Right, and I
But you
don't
don't know the
know
answer.
the answer to that, and I know how important it is to them, so I don't want to get it wrong. Okay.
Perfect.
I think it might be important to note the size difference between Bartlett and Maple as well. We're talking about an extra interventionist for a school, and you're like, well, they have 3 at.
But they also have 500 kids.
At Maple Ave, their projected class size is over 500. Projected class size at the other school is 195. So it's also, I believe, the interventionists are the in-class, small lesson folks. So I just wanted to say that it might be of note for school size.
Yeah, and then the other thing that we have the ability to is we have this.
Yep.
So I did tell the principals that to be on call. So if you want me, I could try to reach Jerry. Now, I did tell them to be on call if you want me to do that.
I think next Thursday
Okay.
is fine.
All right.
There's enough of us to remember to ask.
Okay.
Right, anything else on page 13? Go to page 14. Spencer?
Line 324, other professional services, appears to be a new expenditure of $1,000. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, we've listed it as interpreter services.
for Bartlett?
Bartlett is the one school that has the most need, they have parents with English is not their first language, and that's the need for that one.
Thank you.
Evelyn?
Yes, line 331, there's an increase of 5,000 to the general supplies.
And I think that
That's
was.
the
Matt.
Wonders Works consumables. Would somebody be able to explain what those are?
It is their, I know it's their curriculum.
So basically,
I'm sorry.
So with the curriculum, when we purchase the Wonderworks programs, we get a certain number of consumables, but they are then consumed by the students. And every so often, they need to be replenished, and that's why that $5,000 increase is driven only by that Wonderworks consumable renewal.
Does everybody understand? So you get like workbooks, and they give you a certain number of workbooks when you buy the curriculum set, and then when you hand out a certain number of these, now you have to replenish the workbooks to support that.
Well, and that makes sense. It just looks like it's like a new program, not an existing program.
It's an existing program, but
It's new spec.
it's new spend.
Because it's not annual.
It's not,
So
it's
we don't
not,
need to budget for it every
right,
year.
that's true.
Okay.
And it depends on how many students we
good,
have in
man.
grades.
I'm gonna go home.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying, but I'm also seeing that the line is doubling, tripling. And even if you look at the past 5 years, we've never had to re-up the consumables because we haven't had them. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, so what is Wonderworks and what are we, like, what is it adding?
Yeah, so what,
to
a
the
lot of
school?
times, so what happens is, and as Caleb stated, you buy this curriculum and they'll give you like a boatload of all of these consumables or workbooks. And you might go through them over like a 2 or 3 year period type of thing. So they might be buying some, here and there, but now they're, again, Jerry will be here on Thursday, or she'll be here by phone. We can ask her, we can just highlight that one as well. I don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
having a son in the school, I can
That'd be
tell you
great.
that during COVID, they did not hand out papers from the workbooks. It was all done, loaded online, and the students followed along with that. So it might have delayed the using up of those materials.
Okay.
That implies we're going back to paper.
For children, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but for
I'm a
the
huge
little
advocate
ones,
of that.
it is important.
Yeah. Mark?
Can someone explain to me line 327 and 328, where the figures are pretty much mirrored right straight across?
They were in the wrong lines, so, so line 16 is our tech line, and line 18 is like general education. So what I did this year with our technology director is, if I was to run a report on program 16, that is everything related to information technology. And when we went through the budget, we saw that there were certain lines that were not coded right. So that when I have to do a report to the school board or to the state, how much money are you spending on IT? I need it to be fairly accurate. So we did, in that particular one, you'll see, Mark, that it was under program 18, the line right below it.
Yep.
And then we just simply moved it up to where it belongs.
Is there anything else on page 14? Okay, page 15. Spencer?
Lines 339, 340, 341 are all reductions, which is great. But what were those softwares that were being used?
So there's a, in the PowerPoint,
Okay.
it says what they are. So I just have you refer back to that, help answer some questions for you.
And Spencer, in some cases, it should be in like the district line, because in, not all, but in some cases, by putting in the district, by putting it under one, we get a discount versus each school kind of doing their own thing. So that's also, you know, a little bit of it.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for this page? 15, let's go to 16. So I have a question on just furniture in Bartlett, because I believe last year, I believe we've been replacing
We've been doing 2 classrooms.
classrooms a year.
But we got a grant to get a lot of the desks redone.
Perfect.
So we've pivoted away from some of that.
Okay, so are we, so I
But-
believe, is there a corresponding reduction in the budget?
Yeah, what you're.
For this year?
I'd have to take a look, because I remember talking to Jerry, who's the principal at the school, and I think what we were doing was trying to still look at teacher replacement desks, bookcases, and like these storage cabinets, which are also kind of old. So still, we did take out, you'll see down below, we took out, I know we did, in Bartlett, it was like $5,000 we took out. And I think that's further on down, pretty sure.
Yep, new furniture purchase using grant funds.
Yeah,
Oh,
yep,
perfect, okay, that's
yeah,
what I was wondering.
yeah.
That's perfect. Does anyone else have a question on this page? All right, we'll go page 17.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Melanie?
Line number 399. What drove the increase in testing?
Hold on.
Was this the remediation testing that we did for COVID coming back? Or-
Oh, this was headsets, yeah. So in this particular, she asked for additional headsets, they're not like Bose, but they're headsets where kids can wear them while they're taking the test, so they're not distracted.
Could have really used that when I was in school. Just
Me
saying.
too.
Distracted easily. All right. Anything else on this page, 17? Okay, page 18. There's no questions, go with 19. Good, okay, go to page 20. So I'm looking at non-capital software. Do I see?
Sure, that's 457.
Yep, what is?
So if you go prior, on the prior page, page 19,
Yeah,
on line 454 and 456, you'll see decreases. So again, this kind of goes back to what Mark had raised earlier, where they're under 18 and they need to be
Okay.
in 16, or they're in the wrong spots. So so that's part of some of what happened there. Now on this particular one, 651, let me get you that. Hold on. Caleb's so much faster than I am on this stuff. I'm trying to
Page
keep up with
22
him.
and 23 of the notes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, this one is Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior. So one of the things that we noticed was that we're trying to make sure that we have equity between Maple Avenue and Bartlett School, and Maple Avenue had Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior. These are software packages where kids can learn phonics, reading, math, you name it, in settings like this where they can go to the media center. But one school, I think, had one, and the other school didn't have any, so we were trying to make sure that there was equity between the two elementary schools.
Anything else on page 20? Page 21? All right, go to page 22.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead, Stacy.
Scott, you mentioned that we would see a savings in postage and printing.
Yeah.
Is it not in these two lines?
Can you give me the line number?
Sorry, 482 and 483.
482. I think we did take that adjustment in the year prior. So in this particular school, it might not have been as significant. Let me see.
Yeah, if you look at the actuals for postage, we're 731, 717, 950, and then we dropped it to 350. We found that that was too much of a postage drop, and that's why we put it 450 this last year. That's level funded this year, is our projection.
So over the years, we look to try to lower our postage. So every year, I mean, for the folks who've been on the budget committee, we kind of tweak certain lines. Postage was one. Propane, electricity have been ones that we kind of like move around quite a bit. And I think that one, as Jared stated, we did have it higher, and then we dropped it down, and probably dropped it down too low. So we're trying to find that equilibrium. That's probably all I could say on that one.
All right, page 20, we're on 21, right? 22. Okay, so I see the furniture deduction there.
Yeah. So you'll note that we kept the replacement because we still have a cycle for things like teachers' desks and storage and all that stuff, but the need for new is not needed anymore.
What's going on with the repair line? 506.
Line
Yeah,
506.
so the difference between maintenance and repairs is just maintenance is the normal changing the oils kind of thing in our car, cars.
Ongoing.
Repairs are things that we're expecting to actually have a break fix kind of situation. These are actual repairs, not maintenance. If you look in, I know some of us have the notes, but we talked about electronic repairs. We're expecting $3,500 for that. Heating HVAC issues that come up and we need repairs to bring in somebody, that's $5,000. Plumbing repairs are $4,000. So these are, destructive items that have occurred at the school. So those are what comes under.
And also, we have to keep in mind, the school's 100 years old. So, if I hate to say it, but if a toilet goes or a urinal or something like that, these things cost a couple $1,000s to fix. This particular new item is sidewalk repairs at the school, so that's the new piece of it, but it ranges from painting to glass replacement to plumbing, heating, HVAC. I will tell you that although we do have what we feel are our estimates in each of those subcategories, there are times when you have $10,000 plumbing repair and you only had $2,000 in electrical, but it all kind of evens out. But we have about, like I said, it's about a $32,000 repair line for the school. It is a 100-year-old building, so stuff breaks at all of our schools, and we're fortunate that in the younger grades we don't have a lot of malicious type stuff. At some of our middle and high schools, sometimes you have things like that happen, and we did this past couple of months. And they cost a lot of money.
Thank you, Tim.
Is that a
Yeah.
TikTok trend?
That would be. We don't want to talk, we don't
Do you
say.
need a line, Scott, for malicious repairs, maybe?
No, we don't want to highlight that.
Just
So,
kidding.
By and large, our students are really good.
Sure.
Few of them make really bad choices, and
All right, anything else on page 22? We're gonna go to page 23. Let's wrap up Bartlett. Yep.
That's Bartlett then.
All right, so we wrapped up Bartlett, so I would like at least to have the principal here just next week to
Yep.
ask a couple questions about that stuff that we flagged.
Do you, is speakerphone okay? I mean, I don't know
I don't
where
wanna
she lives.
I don't wanna, I mean,
I don't know. It's up to you. I mean, I don't know what her schedule is next Thursday, that's the only thing.
It's okay by me if it can be picked up by the television.
Yes, because that's why we have the microphone there.
Okay.
So
do
we
we want
do
to
that-
recess for maybe a few minutes to see if you can get a hold of her, or are you just gonna call her right now?
I can, if you would take a recess, I can see if I can get a hold of her.
Yeah, we're gonna just take a 3-minute recess. Thank you. Take a bathroom break.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so I just want to resume the Budget Committee meeting. We're resuming at 8:06 PM. I'm going to let Jared introduce our principal on the phone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to introduce our principal of Bartlett School. Her name is Jerry Gogan. I know that, Jerry, thank you for joining us. If you're having trouble hearing any of us, please let us know and we'll try to use our indoor voices a little bit louder. There were a couple questions that we had from the Budget Committee. What I'm going to try to do is, I did mark down certain line items within our budget lines, but I'll try to paraphrase, and other budget members will chime in where I go off the rails. But there was discussion about the new associate or the new teacher that would be coming in called an interventionalist. Could you articulate what the need for that interventionalist is, and potentially how is it different than what we have over in Maple?
Definitely. Okay, so I'll start with, at Bartlett Elementary School, we have Title I teachers that serve the bottom students, the bottom like 10%, 20% of our students. I'd say it's 20%. And then we don't have anybody else that serves the lowest students in our school. So we qualify for Title I where Maple Ave does not. So Maple Ave has these positions, 3 interventionist positions that they use that help the students that are, you know, at the bottom tier of their students. So we would like the same opportunity at our school. So basically, it would not be special ed students, it would not be our Title I students, it would be the students at the next tier up that just need phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, and some basic alphabetic principle information. They would need direct instruction, targeted based upon data, and that would be, we could fit 10 groups per day with the interventionists. That would be about 30 to 40 students that we could just get up to the level that they need so that they can access the curriculum. The difference with Bartlett is we do not need a special educator for this position. We were very thankful that the board and the budget committee passed the special educator last year, so we have 4 special educators that can handle the caseload. So we want this to be a regular ed position with a teacher that is well-trained in reading and writing and phonemic awareness.
Okay, there's going to be a few questions, so I'm going to introduce some people. Fred, go ahead.
I'm Vice Chair Fred Plett. I'm just repeating what I thought I heard to make sure I heard it correctly. You said that at Maple Ave there are 3 interventionists, but they are Title I special ed, whereas your interventionists will not be? Is that what I heard you say?
Right, so both schools, Maple and Bartlett, both have special ed as required by law. We have some lower income students in more need, so we have Title I teachers that support our neediest students. And that kind of levels us out with Maple Ave. So if you think about that, we both have special ed, and Bartlett also needs Title I teachers, and then we're on the same playing field. Then we still have those low students, like Maple Ave does, like 61% of our incoming first graders that don't have the skills they need to access the curriculum. So we would like to bump up and be able to service those students.
Stacy.
Thank you. So those 61% do not fall into the special education qualifications, or was what you're saying?
Right. They don't fall into the special ed, and we're already serving our lowest students in special ed and in Title I. So it's just that, it's those kids that fall in the middle that can learn and they're ready to learn. We just don't have the staffing to give them that direct instruction, exactly what they need, 6 weeks interventions and things like that, just to get them to access the regular curriculum. And it's working really well at Maple with the students that see the interventionists do targeted instruction, and we want that same opportunity for our kids.
Follow-up question.
Go ahead.
So is there an opportunity to share that one of those positions with Maple Ave, one of those 3? To maybe have a part-time at your school or a?
I don't think so, to be honest. My plan, I would like to have an interventionist added for next year and then a second one the year after, and then we would be able to manage all of our students' needs. I think Maple Ave has high needs as well, and I think this one position would really, really help our literacy, and then the next year I'm hoping we could add a math interventionist, and then we would be able to meet everybody's needs.
Are there any more questions for Principal Guggen?
There was another question, but if we've exhausted this line.
I have a question about another line, yes.
Yeah.
I had a question regarding the consumable
Wonderworks.
Can you tell me a little bit about Wonderworks? Is it really that wonderful?
Yes, so Wonderworks is, we have the regular instruction for literacy in grades 1 through 4 at our school is Wonders, as it is across the district. And then the students that can't access that are able to use WonderWorks, which is typically used with the Title I students. It's an amazing program. It follows along with the same vocabulary, concepts, stories at an easier level. And it's wonderful for our students that are in Title I, and that is working really well. So we do need that. And we are, with the interventionist, we're doing even more targeted instruction, and we were hoping to use the Foundations program and the Haggerty program in a little bit of professional development. So between the Wonders, which is for the regular tier students in the classroom, which they all access, WonderWorks to give that extra intervention for students in Title I, and then some Foundations and Haggerty for the awareness, we think all students will be able to access the curriculum.
So Jerry, sorry, Principal Gogan, I guess the question is, you know, we're looking at a $5,000 charge for these consumables. Why haven't we received any kind of funding or charges in the 3 years prior? So why are we needing them now versus, you know, we didn't need them in the past 3 years?
Great question. We did have them as part of the original Wonders implementation. MC Berry did a lot of work on that when we implemented Wonders, which has been a great curriculum, and part of that initial expense was the WonderWorks curriculum. So we have had that.
So just to follow up, would you see this as like a one-time expense and then maybe in a couple years when they run out, go again?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, Fred?
I just want to thank Principal Gogan for calling at this late hour, being on the ball and being so articulate.
Oh, thank you so much. I love Bartlett. I wish I was there to help out, but I appreciate you calling me.
All right, well, thank you. That's all we're going to need from you. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, she's got good command, huh? She's got great command.
I want to thank all of you on this budget committee for doing what you just did. Our principals are kind of fried with all the COVID stuff, and having them do what they just did, calling in versus having to be here for 3 hours, I can't thank you enough. It's something very, very kind of you.
All right. So, yeah, I'm still kind of curious about the position, like if it can be a 2-in-1 kind of thing, or what the need is at Maple Ave. So maybe at some point we can have that conversation. And
I can always call Suzanne too. So I did tell them
it's a
that
new position. I like to, you know.
I did tell them that I might possibly call them. So if you, what I would,
Vice Principal Johnson?
yes. So what I'll do is, I'm going to step out while you can continue, Jared and Caleb are here, and I'm going to see if she's available, and if she is, then after you go through everything for Maple, then if you have any questions, we can get her on the, just like you did with Principal Gogan, if you want to do that?
Yep, that
Okay.
works.
Before you step out, Scott, while you have the person on the phone, I'm just wondering if there's been like an outcomes before when this position was added to another school, what the increase in the.
Okay.
If that person
Yeah.
can answer that.
Okay.
Is it worth the candle? Yes.
Right. I'd be curious to see that too, because they have 3 and they're at 70%. So maybe, is it because of the specialist or is it some other thing? So. All right, let's go, I forgot what page we're on. We're on page
23.
23. So we're starting at Maple Ave, line 532. So let's look at page 23.
While Scott's out, just so that people know, you'll mostly see in the teacher salary lines, there are no contracted increases. This is because the contract for our teachers has, or will be completed, or fully executed at the end of this year. So we are going through teacher negotiations, and as I talked to the chair earlier today, we will have a warrant article for teacher contracts later. So that's why you're not seeing a difference of new or an increase in the default of that much, because we do not have a contracted increase from year to year at this point.
Okay, thanks, Jared.
Okay, anything on page 23? Go to page 24. Everyone good? Go to page 25. Page 26. Feel like we're breezing through, so, but no questions or anything?
Well, I see fiscal year '23 new blank all the way down. I don't
Right.
know. Yeah.
I know, it's just they, yeah, adding to the base or whatever, but it seems like pretty tight budget.
Right.
27. All right, page 28.
Mr. Chair?
Yep, Evelyn.
Are we on page 29?
I was just on page 28, but feel free to ask whatever.
So I'm sorry, line 685, new spending on non-capital software.
Yeah, so we have a new software system called Pebble Go, and I'm going to look to my student rep to see if he remembered what it was. No?
We didn't even, I don't think we talked about this during the.
Pebble Go.
Yeah, so this line consists of 4 items in our notes. We have the World Book Encyclopedia for $750, Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior, which is what we talked about earlier. That's for $3,500. We have Pebble Go software of $1,850, and then EBSCO, EBSCO, not sure what that is.
Oh, it's a database.
It's a database?
Yep.
For $730, but that consists of all the costs within that line.
So my question is, didn't we try to consolidate last year and remove all the subscriptions for databases out of the school lines and move it into the district lines, so that we have district-wide, like, database access? Was that,
Not everything, the vast majority, though.
is
And
that
you're still
something
gonna
that
have
we're
things-
trying to do? Because
You're
I
still
feel
going to
like-
have individual schools that have like Encyclopedia Britannica. You're still going
Yeah.
to have some of that, but which line are you on?
We were just asking about the non-capital
685?
software. 685.
Oh, hold on.
29.
That's media.
That's
This is
the
your media center, your library.
Was that the increased subscription rate that
That's what it
was
says in there.
highlighted on the, yeah, so the rates just went up on the,
I know we did, but hold on a second. I don't want
I
to
already
speak.
went through the notes.
You did? Okay, I don't want to speak out of school, so. What did it say?
What's that?
What did it say, the notes?
I gave the 4 things,
Oh.
like World Book Encyclopedia. I think, as Lauren talked about, it's probably an increase in our subscription rates.
Was Brain Pop in there, though? I think that was,
Brain Pop,
yeah,
Brain
because
Pop
it was the
Junior.
Brain Pop and the Brain Pop Junior that one, that went. One of them we didn't have. So it was like Brain Pop or Brain Pop Junior we didn't have. They had one of them, but not both.
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
And I did speak to Principal Pishka. She is available. And I told her that I'd text her before I called her because we're going through the budget, and this way, it's more of a
Right at
one.
the end.
Yeah, the end.
You can ask.
Yeah.
All right, Stacy.
The notes do say for subscription rate increase.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, anything else on page 29? All right, we're gonna go to page 30. Page 31. Go ahead, Fred.
Couple of things. Well, I choke on the propane, but I can't say it's wrong, because there's going to be a huge increase in propane. But I ask a question on the line above, electricity, zero. That's line 740. I don't believe the zero, because
Yeah,
natural gas has gone up, which affects electricity prices directly. So the wholesale price of electricity, I have ISO to go, and it's been running it used to be 3 cents, it's running 6, 7, 8, 9
Yeah,
cents.
so,
And right now, Eversource is locked into a contract, but it's gonna come due, that they go out for bid for default service, and it's gonna come and hit us.
so,
This
I
is the
get-
first time Scott's been asked this question, I'll just say that.
yeah, so the school board was on to me as well on this one, and my thought process is that, let me see what that trend, will look like. I don't think it's gonna be as a massive hit, with the except, you'll see at Glen Lake I did, because of the whole, I thought that those were both gas, propane, and electric, but they're totally electric portables. But I wanted to go one more year of experience before I bump that number up. If you think I'm wrong, I'm okay with being wrong.
Here's a budget committee
Yeah.
member trying to keep the
Yeah.
budget low, but I have to face reality, and I think there's gonna be a jump in electricity. And Eversource hasn't seen it yet, so supplies here, but Liberty Utilities has, and their prices, wholesale prices doubled. More than
You've
double.
forgotten more about electricity than I will ever learn or know. That being, the case, Fred, I mean, I'd be more than happy to talk with you, offline. I mean, obviously, we've got two more sessions at least. I'll talk with you. I don't know where that trend is. I don't know if it's 5% or 10. I don't know, but it was something that I was gonna let go for one more year, and then figure it out next year. That's kind of where I was, but I'll chat with you offline and take a look. This is your area of expertise, and I know that.
On the other hand, you're talking 38,850. If it doubled, it's not that big, the end of the world. You'd find it from somewhere
I don't think
else.
it's gonna double.
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
if it doubled,
Yeah.
you'd
I
find
mean,
it
we're
somewhere
that's
looking
else.
one
at-
school, but,
This
yeah.
is this is, in one of these situations, we're allowed to, like, the contingency fund's available. There's other funds that are available to deal with this for 1 year. And then if we come back and see that, like, wow, this electric problem's gonna be an
Right,
issue
and
for a
I
while.
think, this goes back to when you've seen this through, 30 pages where there's additions and subtractions, et cetera. This is the one, same thing with the teacher substitutes, like, let me give it one more year. We do have that fund. I feel pretty good that I could absorb it if I have to. That's all I'm saying, and let me see one more year trending.
If, with that statement, I'm not gonna ask any more questions.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on page 31? Just noticed there's a lot of maintenance lines, and I feel like there could be other funds that could deal with those things. A lot of maintenance increases. All right. All right, let's go to page 32.
All right, I'm gonna text her.
Yeah, shoot her a text.
All right.
Oh. Do you know what this new bottled water is?
Go ahead, Cal.
They used to pay,
Just like speak a little louder.
which line are you referencing?
I mean, it's in the noteworthy changes.
Yeah, it's,
748.
thank you, I was looking at it earlier.
It used to be provided by
Oh, no, it's not.
parents, faculty together, it's their their PTA.
732.
It's the water that is in like the teacher room.
Teacher lounge.
The teacher lab. So the PTA had previously paid
Yeah.
for it. I don't know if those.
It's $2,000.
It's bottle, it's the bubbler type
Oh.
of stuff. Yeah, so they're getting like those 5-gallon jugs.
Right.
So there's equipment startup for it, there's a machine they had to get, or?
They haven't gotten it yet. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that, it's in the budget, I don't know if that equipment will be part of it, I think it's just for water service, so. You can ask Suzanne, it was in my discussion with her as well.
just for the public, we're calling the principal of Maple Ave just to ask a question about the specialist, that the new position at Bartlett and what the need is.
Hi, Suzanne and Scott. I'm just going to make this louder. And then everybody can-
Thank you, Ms. Pishka. On the phone is our principal of Maple Ave. This is Jared Talbot, your school board rep, and I'm here with the budget committee. We're just trying to have some questions that unfortunately Scott and I couldn't answer, and we're hoping that you would be able to answer those for us. If you're having trouble hearing us at all, please let us know and we'll speak up as best we can.
Okay.
The first question that was really asked, and again, I'll paraphrase as best I can. More Bartlett, not necessarily Maple, but Bartlett has an ad of a interventionalist, and it was notated that Maple has 3 interventionalists within our curriculum or within our school right now. The question is why cannot one of those interventionalists also work from Maple and Bartlett at the same time?
Okay. Well, yes, we do have 3 interventionists, and their job is to provide reading and math instruction to our lowest students who are, the most neediest. We base that on their academic records. Currently, with almost 500 students, those 3 interventionists taking at least a caseload of 20 to 25 meet right now about 12% of our need. The target goal is 20%. So if we add our reading specialist to that, we get a little closer at 16%. But the goal really is to meet the needs of the lowest 20% of your students. Why is that important? Well, if the students are able to receive intervention, often we're able to avoid going through the process of special education, evaluation, and going that route. This is a way for us to provide 8 to 12 weeks of support and potentially move them into a position where they can, succeed in their current grade level. So it's really important that our numbers support our population. We have these interventionists also working as a 20%, with 20% of their job is to provide services to our special ed students as well. So they work with students who are identified with specific learning disabilities. And so we really maximize their time and talent with a large elementary school.
Okay, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Principal Lauren Dukas, Budget Committee. So what you're saying is your interventionists are in class with students pretty much all school day with their small groups. So it wouldn't really be feasible to send them to another school to share services. This isn't an occupational therapist or someone that can make rounds of visits to other students. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's correct. We maximize their time also by having them pull students from different classrooms to work versus just trying to focus on one of our 24 classrooms or one of our 7 in a particular grade level. So they're able to see as many students as they possibly can by pulling from multiple classrooms at the same grade level for a block of time. So they're really able to see, they don't see huge groups of students because the other part, what's important about intervention is that the teacher's instruction isn't divided amongst a large group of children. So if they're seeing 4 students, then really you could say each student is getting about 25% of their, their time, that teacher's time. So we keep the groups low between 4 and 3. There's a few that are 2, but most are between, I'd say, 3 and 4 students that they see at one time, to provide very direct, specific instruction on areas where they have a need.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Okay, Fred?
Vice Chair Fred Platt here. This isn't my question, it's one I did hear articulated by another member of the Budget Committee, so I'm just repeating it. As you've added interventionists, 1, 2, and 3, has it resulted in improved student performance? Is it worth the candle?
Okay, I missed the end of that.
Well,
Was it a question? I missed the end of what
Yeah,
you
it's
said.
is it worth the expenditure of money? Does it result in improved student performance?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have, our numbers are very impressive. I think that specifically around reading, it is fundamental for all students to leave their grade level as close to reading on grade level as possible. By the time our students get into 3rd and 4th grade, we have provided support to many of them who then go on to be very successful, not just as students who love to read and write and perform, but on their test scores as well. So those early interventions, students who come to us, we have 130 first graders. Many of them haven't experienced school in 2 years. And they are getting everything that we can give them, that we can provide to them. And those 3 people are key.
Stacy?
Thank you, Ms. Piskra. Thank you for being here, by the way. I'm sure you don't have actual data here, but Fred borrowed my question. I'm just going to ask a little bit further. So I see your numbers are very impressive here, and I guess the question I have is, were these interventionists hired at 3 at the same time, or were they hired? Do you know if they were hired as 1 to start, and then you eventually got up to 3, or were they all hired 3 at the same time?
I think we might have built that. I know we fluctuated from being Title I to not being Title I. So there were years when we had a Title I, Title I funds, we would be able to hire 1 or 2 people to provide similar support. It's the same kind of idea. You're looking for your lowest, students who perform the lowest percentage of that grade level. So we would have a couple of Title I teachers and our reading specialists. Well, as our population has grown, I don't know what year it was, but we did add a 3rd interventionist. And one of the things that we sort of negotiated was that we would have these interventionists also provide support to our identified students. So they became, when we hired staff, we needed to look for people who are certified not only as elementary educators, but as special education. So these people are dual certified, and they're really able to adjust to whomever comes through the door. They can work with students who have an IEP or students who are struggling and just need them for 8 to 12 weeks of intervention. So I would say, yes, we are now at 3 with a population of almost 500 students.
Stacy has a follow-up.
I will have 2. My first
follow-ups.
My first follow-up is, do you happen to know what the data was in your proficiency ratings before the hiring of these intervention specialists?
Oh boy, that would have been a while ago, and we've changed state tests. I know we were a school, when I was hired in 2009, we were a school of need of improvement. So my first job was to write a school in need of improvement plan. We had at that time, like I said, we were fluctuating between, we would receive Title I funds, and then one year we wouldn't quite make it. So since I have been the principal, I would say that that, you know, we got off of the plan within 2 years. Number one, we moved from school name improvement, and we were able to perform at a level that the state felt that we were showing success. And since then, I know, you know, there are some people who talk about Maple Avenue as, you know, as a great example of what you can do with, you know, by maximizing people's talents and, you know, what we have. I think we get pretty creative with you know, with the staff we do have.
Okay.
Just one last question, and that was very nice to hear, by the way, that you do feel there was an improvement. So, I mean, congratulate you on getting out of that need improvement area. So my last question with this interventionist thing is, how do you measure when you need more of them? So is it based on your population or the numbers of proficiency?
So what we use is that 20%. And we, like I said, we're really not, we don't hit 20% with even including the reading specialist caseload. We're at about 16%, but we're satisfied. You know, we will do other things. The reading specialist supports our first grade teachers with their small group instruction to make sure they're really focusing with those students who are struggling. She provides them with lessons that, here's something I'd like you to incorporate when they're in class with you. So we find other ways to beef up what we do as a whole in order to feel comfortable with only 16% of our students that are, you know, at that lowest level receiving services.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
This is Fred Platt again, Vice Chair. I just wanted to say that I remember my 4 children going through Maple Ave, and my son at 4th grade teaching me words. Onomatopoeia was one of them. So maybe I needed the interventionist.
That's great.
Yes, I also, Mrs. Pisha, this is Joe Alexander. I have a question about the $2,000 worth of bottled water. Can you talk to me about that?
Sure. So we don't drink the tap water at school. We, in the past, have been able to use some of the funds raised in other manners. For instance, our PFT would donate some money toward, you know, a staff appreciation, and part of what we'd always ask for are things like water, you know, practical items that we use every day. And because of our current situation, we felt that we really could not continue to ask for funds when we're not doing events or things that generate a lot of money. You know, the parent group generates a lot of money. So it just seemed like a good time to make that request for the, you know, to support that in the budget. We're asking for, you know, the I don't know what you call it, like fountain water for our staff, so that they don't need to bring in, you know, multiple bottles from home. So it's, I guess it's a bit of a perk, but I don't think it's too extravagant.
Are you saying I shouldn't drink the tap water? I drink the tap water. It's pretty good. All right.
Well, I mean, I think our school water, I'm not sure what to tell you about that, but I just know that I'd rather have my water not have any type of, you know, taste to it. So we just don't like it.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Principal Pishka? All right, I think we're all set. I appreciate it. Thank you very
Okay.
much for calling in.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for asking the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Did that answer everyone's questions about the reading interventionist?
Thank you.
Are we okay with that new position?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to continue. I'm sorry.
Well, what's wrong with the tap water?
I drink the tap water.
I drink the
like
tap water. I put it through a pure filter.
All tap water today is contaminated.
Well, that's why I put it through a zero water.
Because of the copper.
Yeah.
Copper was installed in the 50s in that school. And if you tested it, it would pass the state regulations. But any copper that water goes through, if you could shut the water off, cut the copper open, you'll find all the residue in the copper plate.
Don't drink the tap water.
Fairfax, Virginia.
Maybe that's why I'm the way I am. Page 31. Any other questions on that page?
Yeah.
I lived there.
I'm okay with bottled water. All right, page 32.
So now you're in,
That brings us to the end of Maple.
End of Maple.
And it starts at Glen Lake, which is our 103 codes at line 761.
Okay.
So I'm looking at, we got a couple pages of Glen Lake, so the question we want to do is, do we want to stay and finish Glen Lake, or do next week come back and do the high school, the middle school, and Glen Lake? Because we did the school district and 2 elementary schools. What's the temperature of the committee here?
98.6.
Glen Lake shouldn't be as long as either of the elementary schools. It is considered another elementary school for the town. But I think that in the past, I think we've done a lot of concentration at the middle school and the high school. However the board wants to handle it. I think we could probably get this out relatively quickly in 15, 20 minutes. If that, for Glen Lake.
Sure, why don't?
I think Glen Lake
I'm-
makes
I'm
sense.
All right, let's bang it out. Okay, so any other questions on page 33?
Yes.
Fred?
Equipment rental jump, that's line
yeah, that was an iPad lease.
776, okay.
iPad lease is the primary driver for that one. And I think that represented 3,850 of that increase, and then the rest was from our copier maintenance and managed print agreements. So that's driving that one.
Thank you.
All right, page 34.
Excuse me?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Is the replacement furniture reduction in that, is that due to the same amendments?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, page 34? 35? Anything else, page 35? 36? So I'm looking as the main drivers for the increases at Glen Lake is just electricity, from what I see here.
That's
Stuff
the
we can't
biggie,
control, so-
propane, some maintenance, yep.
And electricity is because you got those portables or what?
Portables,
Yeah, the
probably.
one major
Electric-
portable that we installed 2 years ago, that is electricity for heat and for
Air conditioning.
Everything. It's completely electric. And our business administrator grossly underestimated the electrical consumption. And we are now recovering from that.
So we have two.
I love you too.
I love you too.
We have two of those modulars, right?
Together, it's all.
It's a
one building.
4 classroom modular addition.
I gotta go
Over
check that out. I've
6,000.
only seen the floor plan, so I want to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty nice actually.
New heat pumps?
I'm sorry?
Are the heat pumps?
No.
Resistance heat.
The vice chair did mention heat pumps and scolded us last year about heat pumps, but we did not have that in there.
You don't mean me.
Yeah, you said, why don't we have heat pumps in there?
Well, because they're twice as, they use half the
15 minutes.
electricity for the same heat.
I said if we want to increase the costs, I'd be happy to put it in the budget. And that didn't go through pretty well. So. No, yeah, the vice chair is correct on the heat pumps.
Well,
Okay.
at least once in a while I'm right.
Anything else on
50% of the
36
time.
or 37? It's a pretty short one.
All right.
So Scott, the assistant principal salary on 37, is that where you're talking about jumping, the big jump? Because that's a over $6,000 jump.
On page
And that's-
37?
Yep. Assistant principal salary. So that's,
So yeah, so the new spending, the
Oh,
assistant
this.
vice principal was split between
we split
Glen
up,
Lake
right?
Right.
and Bartlett, and there was an adjustment that was needed to bring them up to the 50th percentile.
So there's 6,000 increase here, and then there was another one on the Bartlett lines? or
No,
was there
this
only-
this one came, because of that cost, there was only one assistant principal one. Actually, am I talking about the
This
right
is,
one?
and this is a different person too, by the way.
It's a different person.
You recall
Because
that
we no
the-
longer,
Mr.
do we
Chair,
still
what
share
line
that
are you?
principal?
We
Yeah.
still do,
885.
and it's,
I thought we were on 884. We're on
I just,
885.
I don't remember exactly the split. I don't think it's 50/50, I think it's
60/40,
60/40, yeah.
Like 3 days, 2 days,
Yeah.
But
something like that.
The assistant principal that was split between the two schools was significantly under
Yeah.
the normal. That's why we had that increase.
All right, I'm just curious what it was at the other one, but I can look that up later. Page 38, look at that page. Okay, page 39. Spencer.
On reference number 924 for maintenance, it jumps up by just over $10,000.
Yeah. So every 5 years, we're required to do an inspection of any type of cistern that we have. And there is a $12,000, I think it's $12,000 cost to go, and you have to drain it, and you have to inspect that cistern. And like we just did one at Mountain View, and it was, this one should be pretty good because it's a pretty new one. At Mountain View, we had to do a lot of repairs using our CRF, but that's something that's just mandated. New Boston has to do one next year. Dick, it's part of the fire code type thing where it has to get done. It's our fire suppression system, the system for that.
That's why you're also seeing it as in the default budget, not new, is because it's required by
mandated.
law.
Thank you.
Stacy.
Line 935, I know in their notes it says kindergarten maintenance for the 1,800. What is that specifically?
Groundskeeping?
Yeah.
It says grounds on the chart, it says grounds.
I think it's also, I thought it was pest control and some other things, but yeah, it was pest management, so won't go into too many details there,
No,
but we
no.
have pests.
Only 18? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so the last, page 40 rounds out Glen Lake. Does anybody have any comment, questions about Glen Lake budget?
You delivered.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.
15 minutes.
So I'm just gonna, before I entertain that, is there any other business that wants to come before the board? So I believe if the calendar's right, next Thursday,
Right.
we will review the rest of the school district budget. We're gonna also have a third meeting that's gonna deal with warrant articles and the teacher contracts and things like that. We're gonna entertain that. So next week, we're gonna focus solely on the middle school, high school food service. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Spencer?
Is it next Thursday or next Tuesday?
Tuesday is town side, I believe, right?
So it's also Thursday?
Do we have a Tuesday meeting and Thursday meeting next week?
I wasn't sure if there was, I have to look at my,
One.
I thought it was only on Thursday. That
Should've brought my
it was a
calendar.
revised schedule that Danielle sent out,
That was
and
for this week.
That
I'm sorry?
That Tuesday was for
That
this
was
week.
for this
Okay.
week.
Oh,
Hold
next
on.
Tuesday's election day, it might be.
Well, we don't have an election here, do we?
I know, but
No.
there's other things going on.
So
hold
it's-
on.
So Thursday.
I only have Thursday.
I only had
Just
Thursday, but.
It's Thursday, right.
So our next,
A week
next
from now.
Thursday meeting, we're gonna do middle school, high school, food service budget, and then we'll have a third school side, meeting for the
nine.
warrant articles and
Okay.
the teacher contracts.
I apologize to the committee for missing Monday. I had 4 other things that day, and it just slipped my mind. Number 5 thing I missed.
I'm looking right now.
So
Yep,
from-
it's open.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't make it either. because
So our
I
next
had
meeting is next
practice.
Thursday at 7 o'clock here in the media
Okay.
center. Fred made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Melanie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right.
Joe?
8:52.